Hello, everyone. So, I just got back from getting my second Moderna vaccine. So far, so good. It's only been a couple of hours. Anyway, I've had a couple people ask to talk a little bit about how I came to channel Eve. So, I thought I'd take this time to do a very short video to tell the story, and then I'll try to channel Eve perhaps a little bit later, depending on how the side effects go, if any. I've been told to expect a slight fever, but probably not much more than that. Anyway, so I'm not real good with time, and sometimes I'm not even 100% sure if an event that I've experienced was in reality or in dreams. But I can tell you that I began with a Yahoo group, and a friend of mine, if I'm remembering correctly, it was you, Richard Clark, who suggested I join this Yahoo group of channelers, and I started doing Eve through auto typing. Now, my name being Yvonne, a lot of people in the group called me Eve for short. And so we would differentiate between when I was speaking and when she was by uh, putting Eve in all caps. So this was all done through auto typing. Now, I was attending the Awakening Tribe meetings. My friend James Thames, who has since transitioned, suggested I start attending them. And if any of you are not familiar with it, you can look at the Facebook page. Um, the Awakening Tribe, the channeler is Kay Chinol, that's Shinol, and she's been channeling since the 70s, I believe, and she channels an entity, I guess, called Peter, and also a group called the 12 Mennies, who are American Indians, I think, and they have names like Many Voices, Many Winds, etc., etc. So while I was in that class, Peter told Kay that he thought several members of the class would be good channelers. So, as it happened, to my surprise, I was one of the ones chosen. So, Kay began giving us lessons, and it was really interesting, to say the least. Anyway, one day I was listening to one of the other people in the group doing his channeling. And Kay's husband's name is Jan, and Jan and I were sitting next to each other, and all of a sudden, words came out of my mouth, and I knew it wasn't me. And I turned to Jan and said, I didn't say that. And he said to me, so it begins. And it did. So from that point on, little by little, as I began to get more and more out of the way mentally, uh, Eve began to come through. And at first, I only channeled for people I knew, that is, voice channeled. And initially, uh, when I would go to the Awakening Tribe channeling groups, I just would get images and I would explain what the image was that I got. Like one time I got a fountain, uh, like three tiers and water all flowing down. Another time I remember sensing this kind of green gaseous type mass that would come from time to time. But anyway, I only began channeling. Uh, I was still doing the auto typing, but I only began voice channeling with friends, and I learned that I had to trust what was coming through, because sometimes something would come through and I would think this makes no sense, but it would make sense to the person that I was interacting with. So that's it. Little by little, I just started channeling more and more. I didn't stop autotyping, and some of Eve's autotype stuff uh, was in Tracy Marshall's magazine. I forget the name of it now, uh, but I still have those, and someday maybe I'll read them uh, on video so that you guys can have the experience of that. Um, so then a lot of my Seth friends moved or passed on or whatever. And while I was having Seth meetings at my apartment, that stopped. And then uh, I reached a point where there just didn't seem to be any Seth people around me. And that's kind of the case now in terms of where I live in Austin, which used to have a very big Seth group. So then uh, I became more isolated. I had to move, and I got, well, I guess I always had it, but osteoarthritis started acting up, which gives me some movement issues. Although I will say, oddly enough, that when I channel, the pain becomes a great deal less for some time. And that's an odd thing I'd noticed originally, that whenever I voice channel um, for several hours afterward, my eyesight is better. Now, I don't know why these things happen, but they do. So then the pandemic hit. So I've been very isolated for about 3 years, I would say. And I went, well, I watched the 2021 uh, Seth conference that the folks from California put on. And that kind of inspired me. And I thought, I really ought to try uh, channeling again and try doing it on a video, which is not something I had ever done before. I don't know why, but I had never thought to record anything that Eve said, any of either in group or individually, never videotaped, never just voice recorded, nothing. It's just, we would have the session and it would be over with. So this is new and a little bizarre because I'm used to having immediate feedback in almost all of her channelings, except the ones I did for the magazine. But normally there's a person there either typing back at me or speaking with Eve when channeling. So this is something I'm trying to get used to and trying to find a way to isolate less and kind of get back out in the world again. So that's the scoop on Eve. She does prefer to answer questions. That's kind of her mode, as opposed to just, I don't know, saying, okay, I want to talk today. She prefers to have questions she can respond to. And a lot of times, however, she is just talking to me in my head when I'm going about my daily business. And I gather that that is not unusual for people who channel. Um, I'm not sure when Eve first became a part of me. Well, I guess she always was, but I'm not sure when I first started being aware of her. I do know that throughout my life there have been instances, which in retrospect I think were probably Eve. Like maybe I'm about to cross the street and I hear a voice go, stop or no. And then a car whizzes past. And if I'd not heard that voice, I probably would have stepped into traffic. Things like that. Um, and also, I've had a lot of, I guess people call it paranormal. I don't know. To me, if it happens, it's normal. but I have had some paranormal experiences with people who have passed on. Uh, for example, when my grandmother passed on, I was in college and I had this beautiful rocking chair in my room, and the door flew open and the rocking chair began to rock. And I knew right away something was up. I called home and found out my grandmother had passed. So there have been things like that all through my lifetime. My sister has had them. She's I guess, a little bit clairvoyant, and she frequently had clairvoyant dreams. When my father passed on, we heard footsteps, uh, things, if I'm remembering correctly, like a picture might drop from a wall or something like that. So the idea of a channel was not new to me, but, uh, and I had taken also lots of different classes and read lots of different books on ways to understand the universe, I guess, kind of the standard fare. I'd read Be Here Now, I'd read Edgar Casey, and on and on. So, and then I took a 6 week course, which is actually kind of what brought me to Austin, by the Eureka Institute, which was a combination of Eastern and Western disciplines. We learned things like karma cleaning, which I believe Eve has talked about. I don't know if she gave it that name. Uh, um, Tai Chi, yoga, various things like that. So even though it was totally unexpected, I never thought I would be a voice channel. It isn't something that frightened me or I thought was out of the ordinary. So that's how Eve came to be. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask me, and I'll let you know. Okay, thanks. Bye bye for now.